Good day, everybody. If you've been watching any of my other videos, thanks for coming back. If not, my name's Chris. Thanks for watching. In this video, I'm going to go over 10 things that you should consider before buying a portable sawmill. The first thing that you should consider is the amount of space that you need. I made a 60 by 60 foot area here where I have my mill set up. It works okay, but it should probably be bigger. I really wasn't aware of how much room you were going to need to put logs to get onto your mill. You need space where your mill is, obviously, but then all the offcuts that are coming off it that you're going to use for firewood or whatever, you need somewhere to put all that. And then, of course, all the lumber you're cutting, it starts taking up a decent amount of room once you start stacking up some of that. And then once you consider all that, you need some room to move around, especially if you're loading logs onto the mill with a tractor or something like that. You need room to get it in and get those logs on the mill. So make sure you figure out if you have enough room or not. The second thing that you should consider is what you're going to be using the mill for. Behind me here is the Woodland Mills HM126. I bought it for our personal use here at the farm, and it works great. You can cut a lot of lumber with it, but not extremely quickly. If you're trying to start up a sawmill business, you would probably want to get something quite a bit bigger than this with hydraulics and whatnot, because most people that have a sawmill business have this type of equipment, and that's who you would be competing with. And to compete with their rates, you're just not going to make much money with the amount of volume they can churn out compared to you. Number 3 is, where are you going to be getting all your logs from? If you've got a huge property with a big forest on it, it really does make sense. Or maybe you know somebody with a tree service that will give you a whole bunch of trees they've cut down for free. If you don't have a steady supply of logs and you're only going to be cutting one here and there, getting a few 2x4s or something, maybe you want to rethink the decision to buy a portable sawmill. The fourth thing I'll talk about is that there is a bit of cost to using one of these even after you've bought the initial tool itself. While some people might not think it a big deal, it is a gas engine. You do need to be constantly buying gas to use it. Blades are not that cheap. You can get a pack of 10 blades from Woodland Mills for $225. You can cut a fair bit of lumber with that, but you're going to have to get them resharpened somewhere, so you're either going to have to spend a lot of money on a blade sharpener or be trying to find somebody in your area that can sharpen the blades for a cost to you all the time. There's also the lubrication tank on the top. If you live in a warm area, dish soap and water's not too bad. In the winter time where it freezes, you're going to have to find something else, maybe like windshield washer fluid, and that can add up. Now, number 5, I want to talk about some of the other tools that will be very beneficial to going along with the mill that you have. Now, if you have your own property and you're planning on cutting down trees, obviously you're going to need some sort of skid steer, tractor, even a 4-wheeler, something like that to get it to your mill. And if you don't have something like that, that's going to be a big expense. There's also some other smaller things that maybe you haven't thought about. Do you have chains or straps that you can pull the log with? Obviously you need a chainsaw to get the tree down. This is called a cant hook. This is an older one, but it still works great. And you can buy new ones for anywhere from 100 to, the sky's the limit, I guess, $300-400. You're really going to want to have one of these if you have a sawmill. This is what allows you to turn logs easily once they're on the mill, so you can get it onto the other side. So, just something to think about. What other tools are you going to need, and how much money is that going to cost you to get going? Now, number 6 is, how much lumber do you really use? If you're just maybe reframing a bathroom and you've got a few trees in your yard and you're thinking, maybe I should buy a sawmill so I can cut my own lumber to reframe this room, that's just not going to be worth it. Now, here at the farm, we cut a lot of 6x6s and 2x10s and stuff like that for buildings, you know, stuff that's really going to add up. We also like doing some woodworking with cherry and maple hardwoods, and that's the kind of stuff that really adds up. You know, that's the kind of stuff that's really going to help you pay for this mill. And if you're just thinking of getting a mill so you can cut up a few 2x4s here and there, it might not be the greatest decision. Now, number 7, there is a bit of a learning curve to having a tool like this. If you've never owned a sawmill before, it's not a tool that you can just get right out of the box, start up, and away you go. With this one, it took me 2 days just to get it set up. And then even after that, there's a big learning curve of figuring out how to use it properly. You've got to be constantly watching your blade for sharpness. If you don't, you're going to end up with wavy lumber. And just even having the blade on the band wheels properly, you got to check that every time you start up. If you don't, you risk the blade coming off, and that'll ruin it. Also, you've got to always be checking your track, making sure it's nice and level. If you don't, over time, depending how good you have it set up, but most people I've talked to and watched videos about, they admit that sometimes their track comes out of level, and that's just something you always have to be watching and maintaining as you're going along. So this mill here, it comes with a gas motor, and you know, just like any small engine, there are some things you have to keep an eye on. You got to fill it up with gas, check the oil, change the oil, check the air filter every now and then, etc. It also has the lubrication tank on top, so you're going to need to keep an eye on that all the time too. Now, number 8, I'm going to be talking about, can you leave this mill set up in a permanent location, or do you need to move it? I know that this mill actually comes with the option of having it mounted on a trailer for you, so you can tow it around to multiple locations. For me, all the lumber I'm going to be cutting at is on the same farm, so I had no need for a trailer. But if you have multiple properties, or maybe you're buying this as part of a family and you want to take it around to each family member's place, you're going to want a trailer, and maybe you're going to want to research and find a mill that comes with a trailer, because I know not all of them do. Or maybe you're cutting in somewhere that's really hard to get at, and something like this is going to be too big for you, and you want to find a smaller option. I know there's some band sawmills that just hook up to your chainsaw that you could literally carry into the woods, or even bring in with a four-wheeler. This isn't one of them. Now, number 9 is, you should think about what size of logs you're going to cut. If you're cutting logs off your own property, maybe just go around and measure a bunch of the trees you think you're going to be cutting. The model behind me is called the Woodland Mills HM126. The 26 refers to the diameter of log you can cut. That means up to a 26-inch log. Woodland Mills also has a model that can cut up to 22 inches, and they have a model bigger than this that can cut up to 30 inches. Now, there's lots of other brands of sawmills out there, of course, that can cut even bigger than that. So before you decide on a sawmill, maybe you should check out what the size of trees are that you're going to be cutting, so you know that you're going to get a mill that works for you. The 10th and final thing that I have for you today is thinking about what your budget is. Portable sawmills are a cool thing because you can spend anywhere from a few $100s for a mill that hooks up and uses your chainsaw as the motor, to tens of thousands of dollars on a more expensive mill that comes on a trailer with hydraulics and all the works. Now, when you're looking up a price on a website, they'll give you the price for the sawmill, but you should also consider all the accessories that you're going to need with it. You're going to want extra blades. One blade is not going to last you very long. Like I was saying before, you're going to need a cant hook. A lot of mills come with some sort of winch system to help get your logs up onto the mill if you don't have a loader or something like that. I know I wanted a cover. It was $150 just to keep this part out of the weather in the winter. I haven't had time to build a shelter over this yet. So, you know, that's just some things that you should look into, because you might be a little bit in shock seeing that price on the website and then what it actually ends up being after you add all those accessories, tax, etc. onto your final price. And that's just my take on 10 things that you should consider before buying a portable sawmill. Thanks, and I hope to see you again.